Hi guys, my name is Marentia.
My name is Amma,
and this is the Girls Who Cook podcast. Woo! Episode 5.
Episode 5.
That means we're into month 2 of the year, February.
Welcome to February.
It actually kind of feels crazy. I feel
Valentine.
Do you have any Valentine's Day plans?
Please, no. Like I've ever in the last.
Wow. I'm not gonna lie, we should do something. I'm also bored that day, so all the singles, we should do something. Is that kind of sad? Maybe
No, I don't
a little
think it's
bit.
sad at all.
I don't think it's sad either.
Yeah.
I high-key support that. If you're single,
Valentine
comment
is
down
cute.
below. We can do something for Valentine's Day. But yeah, we're already into month 2 of the year. High-key, I'm getting scared because 2025 is moving too fast already. And we are 2/3 into the season because we're ending this first season in March. Today's episode, we have a very big episode here, is going to be about 20s, the hardest decade of your life. Are you on track to achieve your dreams? Reinventing yourself and investing in your future. Navigating early adulthood challenges, opportunities, the biggest myths about your 20s, and are we playing it big or safe for the rest of our 20s? That is what we're talking about.
That's a lot.
So I picked this topic because I'm 25. How old are you?
I'm 26.
So we're at the quarter life crisis point. Okay, guys. Quarter life has been crisising for me. I don't know about you. Has it been crisising for you?
I think so, yeah.
How?
sure.
Like, what's your quarter life crisis been saying?
I mean, I quit my job. We'll be getting into that, but I quit my job. I know, and it was kind of tough for me to get the job because no one was wanting me, and I did finally get an employer that wanted me, and then I quit after 13 months. And I've been chasing my dreams, so like just the challenges of it all has been very much life. What did you say? What was your term?
Quarter life crisis.
Crisis in me, like crazy. What about you? What do you mean?
I totally think I'm going through a quarter life crisis. I feel like in movies we always see midlife crisis, but people forget about quarter life crisis. And I don't think people talk about how much of a shift that happens around 25 for people. And I don't know if it's just because maybe me, I don't want to get old. I don't know what it is, but like it's been
Are you scared
crisising,
of
girl.
getting old?
There's no fear. I just don't want that to happen. Like I just
Why? What does? Okay, we digress.
I feel like the older you get, the less fun of life there is left.
You think?
I think so. I don't know why
Okay.
I think that way, but that's just how I think.
Okay, I hear
Yeah,
that.
but I have definitely been quarter life crisising because
Yeah, how?
we're gonna talk about this later on in the episode about whether or not we're where we want to be in life or not. But I'm definitely not where I want to be in life.
Same.
As far as my goals, as far as what my bank is looking like, as far as like where is this tall 6'5" man
my
working in
gosh.
finance? Actually, I don't even want a man that works in finance, but I'm just saying like there's just so many things that were supposed to be here that are not here. Like you see how Drake said 25 sitting on 25 mil. I really thought that was gonna be me.
Real.
Right now I'm like 25 sitting on like 25 CDs. And that's kind of crazy. Like for real.
I'm dead.
Yeah,
No,
but-
honestly, this is
High key, the reason why I was even excited to start this podcast and come back on social media was I feel like I let life crisis me, and that slowed me down in life. And in my mind, I had just made up that when we start this Girls Who Cook podcast, I'm just going to get back on the wagon, and now I have to crisis the crisis. You know what I'm saying?
period.
So that's kind of
Period.
the energy I'm coming into this episode with. But we've been crisis and we're moving on with our lives as well. But before we get into talking about our 20s and everything else that we mentioned in the intro,
What have you been up to
girl.
in January 2025? What has January 2025 looked like for you?
Girl, okay, so January 2025, it started around 6 a.m. on the 1st for me. Came back drunk. That's how my New Year's started. I went to a New Year's party, but I didn't get too drunk. So then it was actually like the perfect amount to start my New Year's. Spent it with my friends. Came back in the morning. And that was how I started the year. Honestly, it wasn't the type of New Year's I always spend in terms of, I'm always like, you know what, day one, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm one of those people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'm one of those people that you catch in that first phase of the year when people are going to the gym. But I didn't even do that. So this year, it's almost like, Marentia, don't come and even kill yourself. You know you're not gonna keep this up. Don't even start hot. Like I was like, you know what?
Just
Let me start slower and then we can build up into it. So that's how my January has been going. Honestly, as far as my career, the only thing that I've really been doing in January is this podcast, right? And one episode goes out a week, but I've been editing my vlogs that I'm going to start posting on my YouTube. So work-wise, that's what I've been up to. And I would say that this particular week, fun things that I did, Fimba had her birthday party.
Oh my goodness, I saw like snippets of that on Instagram.
So I went to go and say hi to her. She did it here at the Mensvik Hotel rooftop. Shout out. So went to go and...
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you.
Yes.
Shout out to you for that.
Oh.
Shout out to Mensvik.
Shout out to Mensvik. Yeah.
Nice.
So I went to go and see her. Lady was there.
Ooh.
And Lady, surprisingly, is so excited to get back into content creation.
That's
so
lovely.
that's where I feel like a lot of us
lovely.
are. And I also had some Korean barbecue with Nubuke yesterday.
Oh yeah, how was that?
That was
Your
fun.
aunties, right?
Yeah. That was
Was
fun.
it good?
It was good. But what have you been up to this week?
I just started a second. No, the thing is funny for me. I'll get into me quitting my job like as we go on into the video, but let me just say I quit my job. And before I quit my job, that month when I was like, because I'd been thinking about this for months, that month I had developed like 2 extensive documents. One was a brain fart of everything that I wanted, like going forward. Why am I quitting my job? Where am I going to? All of those questions. How much do I want to make? How much can I make while I'm unemployed? How am I going to sustain myself? What travel plans? All of those things, right? And I'm just really like bursting of happiness because, like, for instance, 2 of the main things were that I'm transitioning from law to finance. We'll go into that a bit more, but I'm transitioning from law to finance, and so I'm trying to get into an MBA program, and a lot of the good schools require a good GMAT score. So I started GMAT classes, and that's one of the classes that I've been registered to. And then now, part of my plans was to acquire skills as a project manager, because everything that I'm going to be doing going forward in finance, how I'm going to incorporate law and policy in the long term, all revolves around project management, and project management skills end up becoming very relevant. And so I registered a PMP class.
Wait, what's a PMP class?
Yeah, that's a project management professional certification class. Yeah, it's for 6 Saturdays, guys. I think everybody should do it. Like, genuinely, I mean, everybody deals with projects, and it will be, I think you should do it. But anyway, yeah. But it was just hard for me because, like, I put out money from my savings and, like, my big money plan to do this, and I was like, that stung.
Wait, I'm actually very curious about this. Project management classes, like, how long do you do it for?
6 Saturdays, and then you get the certificate. So you take the exam, and then when you pass, you get the certification.
Wait, that's actually so smart.
Like,
I feel like everyone should do it. I should probably do it, huh?
Yeah, I'm telling you, like, honestly, oh my God, even for the podcast, for everything content creation you want to do going forward, it just cuts across. Tells you exactly how to plan stuff, like even like towards sponsorships and how you put together a proposal. Like, it's amazing, and I think it would just come in handy, like, going forward. So I'm just happy. What I was just basically saying, that's what I've been up to, and that's how I'm saying it will seep into what we're talking about, because it's about like setting goals. Are you achieving them? Goals you set from way before in your teens, are you achieving them in your 20s? You know, this is really what we're talking about, investigating, you know, our older plans and seeing if we've realized them.
No, 100%. And I feel like we're in our 20s, so there's only so much advice we can give. Even this whole PMP class in itself is a gem of advice I feel like a lot of people could take on. But even still, we could give a little bit of advice with what we've gone through, and you guys will probably get advice throughout this episode. But yeah, what are some of your New Year's resolutions? I'm actually very curious to go through your whole documents. And actually, we do need to do a whole sit-down session, like, after the podcast, where you need to help me map out my life.
Like, I'm so happy to.
Okay, thank you.
I'm so happy to, because I really worked my ass off on that.
Okay,
because I needed that security to take that big leap of foregoing that monthly income. You know what I mean? I was like, oh my goodness.
How does it feel to not have a job? And how does it feel like to go back to school after not being in school for so long?
Oh my goodness. Talking about like going back to school after, so let me tell you, after I did like 6 years of law school to become a lawyer, after I got out, I was like, I'm not even doing masters. I'm not not interested. But then I slowly now like would investigate and explore and find out what it is exactly I wanted to do in my life. And now that I know what I want to do, I feel like, oh, I need to go back to school to go and get this knowledge. And now it doesn't feel like school. It doesn't feel like, oh, I've paid school fees for you to go. I'm like, I'm paying my fee.
Right,
go.
right.
And then I'm like, girl, you better go, get up and go, because you pay those fees and it's bashing you. It's so different and so crazy. And I'm so excited for school. Oh, I love it.
I think that's such a perfect like example of how you change from your teenage years to your 20s. It's like when we're in school, when we're younger, we're just there because it's part of the system. Wake up, go to school. But then when you actually grow up and you realize that, oh, I want to go to school for this reason, your motivation that you have towards school is so different. Wow. Do you know, I always liked being in school just also because of the structure that it gives you. Because we were talking about that.
Structure.
Go off, please.
Oh my God, listen. After let me just say this quickly. After school, right, when I started working, mind you, I had 2 years before I got called. So during these 2 years, I was taking courses on Coursera, learning by myself to get certificates in private equity and venture capital, and on financial markets and financial modeling on Coursera and Udemy. You guys should check that out. And also doing job simulations on Forage. It's free. Check that out. Forage to get certificates and things. And honestly, I wasn't able to finish some of my courses because it was so difficult without that structure. And then there were things I needed to know more. Like I needed to ask questions, but the videos are pre-recorded. So then you start really seeing the benefits of a lecturer and having
Being
a real person. You can go to their office, and which are things that I didn't care about when I was in school. I was like, please, I'm not a teacher's pet. Like, let me just hurry up. But now I'm needing these things. I
totally understand. I feel like a lot of people feel that way, especially about languages too, because when you're in school, you never want to learn languages. And then when you have the financial freedom, which I've not experienced yet, to travel in life, you can actually now use those languages.
Yeah.
So people are like, wow, I actually want to learn language.
Tell me about it.
But I feel like even just talking about what we've been up to this week, we're talking a little bit about some goals that we have and the things that we're up to. My New Year's resolutions for this year, right? Something I did different this year that all my other years, usually I would make my goals for like 2025, 2024, 2023. I would make yearly goals. Then I would break that up into 12 months, make it monthly goals. Then I'll make it like weekly to-do lists, right? But this year, I'm not gonna lie to you, I can't look past March. So I'm not setting yearly goals this year as far as numerical. I have in mind what I want to achieve by March, and then after that I'm going to set what I want to achieve by June. So June is always like a good time for me to set a goal towards because that's when my birthday is. So I kind of look at it like a new year, right? So for me this year, I'm setting quarterly goals, not New Year's resolutions. And I would say that as far as my quarterly goals for this year, obviously number one was to start the podcast, which I'm actually really proud of us. We've been posting one podcast a week, which is honestly jumps up from us not posting on YouTube pretty much for the last 2 years. So really excited about that. Now I need to translate that consistency into my own channel. I want to start posting on my YouTube channel once a week as well. But the last goal for me this quarter is to put out music. So definitely put out a song in March, and then promote it throughout March. Those are kind of like my main goals for the first quarter. And this first quarter, I'm working on something, but it's not going to come into fruition until the next quarter, which is going to be the clothing brand. Remember I told you I wanted to make caps. So I feel like that's going to come next quarter. But that's kind of like my quarterly goals. What about you? What are your New Year's resolutions this year?
First off, I really like how in many ways they are related, like especially the first three, with the podcast, with your channel, and with music. I think it's really interesting to see how you kind of leverage that, because I can imagine that for all of them, things like how your image would be growing and your social presence would be growing and your numbers and audience would be growing would be relevant for each of these three areas. And I'm interested to see how it transfers from the first two to the last one, especially for your music. And I'm just like, actually, I'm just so excited about just your music and when you bring it out and the promotion, especially the TikTok promotion. I'm really excited to see. It's a new era, girl.
Very, very new era. And I think also the biggest difference between how I set goals before and right now is instead of setting big goals in the future, I'm setting more like task lists. So if I actually show you my doc that I made, right, rather than any numerical goals, I just have a bunch of tasks I need to complete. Now, before I used to set the number goal that I wanted in the end, but now I'm kind of writing down the actions I need to take, and then I've not set where that's going to take me at. I think it's also because I'm going into a lot of new ventures. I can't really have an accurate grasp of like what goal to set. With the podcast, we're on a brand new channel. I don't really know how many subscribers we can predict to even have for a season. So like in first quarter, I'm not really focusing on numbers. I'm focusing more on just building consistency in myself.
That's interesting. I don't know if you guys have heard of OKR, so objectives and key. Jesus.
I thought that's what. I mean, yeah. OKR.
Objectives and key results.
Key results. No, that's what I meant. Obviously, the key result is objective.
Okay.
Duh.
Oh my god. I was just gonna say that people who really, really, really stand by OKRs. Wait, so objectives and key results, right? So you set objectives and then you set the success criteria by which you would have determined that yes, you've achieved those objectives, right? But in between these two things are the action points, the steps you take, the lists, right? So people would then think, oh, then she's saying, because one principle about objectives is that they're supposed to be very detailed, right? Very specific. So like maybe to a number. So someone would say what you said, that's because it's a brand new channel. So someone can just say, even put the minimum, like 1K. Just say like 3K or 5K within this time and put a time to it just to say. Right. You know, if you had a range, you can pick the least just to say you set something and just to know what you can determine to be the result at the end, whether you've gone above or below this, right, what you expected, right? But anyway, that's just by the way.
No, I actually find that a really good point. So I was like, you know what, should I set some type of generalized numbers for myself for quarter one? But then I think,
and then use that first analytical data to then now set a more realistic and more baseful projections, like just make more baseful projections based on the previous one for this new channel, because that's the historic and the only data you have on it yet.
I think the reason why I didn't do it is because the biggest change, or like the biggest goal for me 2025 is consistency. So I think I know results come 100% as long as there's action being put into it. So then I know that my biggest issue is not getting the output, it's just not being consistent. So I think I set numerical goals as far as the consistency, like go to the gym this many times, but I don't set right now like go to this.
Okay.
Now tell me about your goals.
I don't know why my goals make me blush. Make goals that make you blush, guys.
Actually, I support that.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just every time people have, the first thing I would usually do is I'll be like, what's your email? Then I would share the 2 docs with you. Okay, so let me tell you the title of like the docs and what this is really. So what I called it is AMES 3 to 6 months strategic plan of action for future career alignment. So what I meant by that was, now I know exactly what I want to do in life. Like I know exactly what I want to be doing long term from now to the rest of my life. I know exactly the goal and it remains essentially the same. And so then I was like, okay, what are the steps, right, to get there, and then what determines that I have gotten there, right? And also what time limits, what's time frame or time period am I going to be doing this for? And that's a 3 to 6 months plan of action. So mind you, I've been working as a lawyer and a policy consultant for 13 months, and now I'm finding out that what I want to do basically needs to necessarily affect the economic advancement and integration of all African states necessarily, right? But when I'm saying economics, like finance bit, I'm like, I only have a legal background, you know, so I need necessarily this economics finance background. And or if I'm saying I'm going to help with inflation and the currency imbalance, like I need to understand what that means really, you know. I can only talk from a legal background. What does that do? Right. So then I was like, oh damn, I need to do finance proper. Like, I actually need to do this, you know? And I was like, damn, I wish I did this as an undergrad and now did law. But then I was like, it's fine. Law is even longer. MBA, 2 years at most. That would be good. And then I can, like, you know, do these internships and get in through.
That is crazy. So you're about to have a law degree and a MBA.
Absolutely.
Woo! I love that for us. I love that for us.
And a PMP certification, like the project management professional certification.
I love that.
And it's good because I want to work on infrastructure developmental projects, right? So like just building stuff, bridges, roads, railways and things like that, right? And you see how it's all projects. So definitely project management is going to come in handy. The finance bit is going to come in handy. And if we're trying to break down exploitative and oppressive structures like, capitalism, then the policy and law would just come in. So like in my head, I think of it as like the ultimate, oh my goodness, amazing badass skill set to fight what I want to fight.
Okay.
So yeah, this is what the dream is about. And so I was like, okay, I need to pause on law and policy, tap into finance, then like in the years to come, put them together.
Do you know, I think something that you are doing that a lot of people can take from is,
Tell me.
I think a lot of people just take action without really having in mind how that's going to play into what they want to do in the future. But it seems like for you, you've kind of reached a point where you're reverse engineering what you need to have in your skill set or in your life so you can do what you want to do. I mean, when I was doing the research for this episode, I saw this topic that was like 20s is the most crucial years of your life because it's your investment years.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. Someone told me that by 29 it's like the last year of your investment. Like you need to have been done investing because you're supposed to be reaping by your 30s or something like that.
I saw that in the bullet points that you put. First of all, that gave me anxiety because I was like, what do you mean 29 is the end of my investment years? I have 4 more years to invest. That's kind of crazy. And
like,
I don't know if you know this guy called Gary Vee. He's like the typical business entrepreneur. Like he always reiterates the fact that you can start your life at 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever, because he started off by working under his dad's wine company, and then he only started his company and gaining success I think late 30s. So he was saying that people who are Gen Z who are in their 20s seem to think that they failed in life and their goals are not going to come into fruition when they've not hit it in their 20s. But in life you actually don't have a deadline. But at the same time, it is really true that your 20s are the perfect time to invest in your future. What are your thoughts on like that sentence, 29 is the end of your investment years? Like what the fuck?
I think that if you guys hear it and you're living in other developing countries like me, I am in Ghana here, you should be terrified because investment in these parts is a privilege. Like if you take your 3K a month, if you take a 3,000 Ghana cedis a month, and you're coming from Tema to Accra to go and work, well, how much are you investing? How much are you even putting down for investment? How much are you putting down for emergency funds if you're to get sick or someone's to get sick? Like, it's a very scary thing for a lot of young adults to think about because they're like, what do you mean? People have intentionally heard about forex trade but have let it pass by their ear because they don't have the money to risk. Like, risk is so expensive here, and also the investment framework doesn't allow you to trust the system. Like for instance, what happened with Men's Gold some years ago where people invested and till date people have not got their money. What happened with the closing down of legitimate banks? You know, just like you just get up and you just close down banks, so people don't know what to do. Like people don't trust the system enough to say, oh, put your money here. People would rather save even though they know it's dumber to just keep your money instead of letting your money make money for you. But in Ghana, you don't get that safety blanket of knowing that, oh, I can put my money in an investment house or firm and it's going to yield returns for me.
You know what I think is interesting about like investment years and what you're saying? It's so contextual on the person's life and where you're at. Like you said, obviously in Ghana, I feel like in your 20s, a lot of people are still living on like what you get is what you're living on.
Hand to mouth.
You can't hand to mouth is where a lot of people are at in Ghana in their 20s. And not even just specific to people in their Ghana in their 20s, people who take non-traditional career paths, I feel like in their 20s could very much still be hand to mouth. I'm talking about this in terms of both of us, we do freelance entrepreneurial stuff with our YouTube channel. It's so hand to mouth in terms of if we get a brand deal, maybe you might have some money. If you don't get a brand deal, if you have a viral video. So have you seen those memes about how like people are how there's a meme where what your parents were doing in their 20s versus what you were doing in your 20s.
No, I haven't. What are they
It's
showing?
like your parents in their 20s already had a kid, a house, and this, and we are in our 20s doing
Real.
TikToks.
Real. Okay, I have a question then. When you were younger, what did you think you would be, or what did you think you would achieve in your 20s? And have you, or would you say that you have achieved some of it, all of it, none of it?
My 20s, I really had in mind that I was going to go to a great university. I feel like that's what I have in mind as my first impression of my introduction into my 20s, because I started off my 20s by going to university. So I always thought when I was younger that I wanted to go to Harvard, or I wanted to go to UPenn, or just go to like an Ivy League school, because I was just like, I just want to go to the best school. So that's what I had in mind for my 20s. How did that go? I ended up going to a great school, but I also dropped out. So I did not expect
What school
that.
did you go?
I went to Georgia Tech, baby.
Yeah, okay.
But high key, I can also say at the same time that I could have seen me dropping out coming, because when I was in my teens, I already was like, I kind of don't want to go to university right now. So I feel like as far as academics for me, it's kind of went as planned. But in terms of where I thought I'd be in my 20s, I thought I'd be a millionaire.
No, like on a real. Think of millionaire. Think of someone who makes 5 figures, someone who makes 6 figures. Realistically, when you were younger.
Before I was in my 20s, I thought I would definitely be a millionaire by 25.
Really?
Yeah. I thought I'd be a millionaire by 25. I thought I'd live in New York in my 20s, which I still plan on living in New York in my 20s, but I've not done so far. And what else did I expect? I did not expect to be living in Ghana or Japan. So that was totally unexpected. And the impression I just had of 20s from when I was younger, when you're watching all these movies and shows, the show Friends is how I imagine people's 20s to be like. I feel like it's when you're kind of living with your friends and you're just living in a city and you're chasing
Like
your dreams and goals.
Roommate situation. And you guys
Roommate
are both
situation, or like,
chasing your dreams.
yeah, just I don't know, romanticization of that youthfulness
course.
is what I expected out of
Yeah.
my 20s, which I can say that I am experiencing in real time, but then I'm excited to experience more. What about you? What did you think your 20s were going to be like when you were younger?
I mean, when I was younger, not even in for my 20s, I thought I was going to be married at 18.
What?
Yeah, I thought I was going to be married by 18 for sure. But about my 20s, yeah. About my
What?
20s, I thought I'd be done with uni and I'd be a lawyer. And that happened. I did think that I was going to be heavily into the law and continue to practice. I never saw me trying to transition to finance for sure. I also never saw me taking the super revolutionary Pan-Africanist journey or path. I didn't. But what else did I see? Oh yeah, I thought I was just going to be really married and doing the whole traditional shebang. Oh yeah, I thought I'd still be given tithes, all my money and tithes in church for sure when I was younger.
Wow, that's me. I can't even imagine that, because I've just not met you at that stage in your life. So I can't even imagine. I wonder how your friends who've known you from then to now, how they feel.
Real.
'Cause
See,
I
a lot
can't
of them
even-
legit get confused. People from my high school get confused. People from my church get confused. But yeah.
But it's very also interesting that law has always stayed a constant for you.
Yeah. I mean, I'd been doing it for 6 years, so before my 20s. So naturally, I had just thought okay, 6 years later, I must be a lawyer. That kind of thing. Very not planning out of my. I mean, I guess sticking with law school was but yeah. So that was just
I guess we both had different and similar expectations of what our 20s was gonna be like from when we're.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I definitely did not think getting a job with my personality and my hard work and everything I had worked for, and I didn't think it would be a problem. Hey, my lord. I didn't think it was going to be so hard. Trust me, I had heard of unemployment. I had heard of, and maybe it was probably like ignorant and a little elitist maybe for me to have thought that like, oh, maybe I don't know, I wouldn't have a problem. Me, I have double problem. I have a general unemployment problem, and then I have an extra targeted problem. I certainly didn't think I'll struggle like impressing a group of people in an interview. I had practiced that for my whole life. So yeah, that part shocked me.
Wow, that's actually very, very interesting. Me, I didn't think that's honestly, I wouldn't have thought I'd be doing YouTube maybe in my 20s, in my teens.
True.
I don't think I was in my...
True.
It's weird because I watch so much YouTube and I always liked doing creative stuff, but I don't know if I was already on that page. I think I was still pages behind. But okay, we have different and similar expectations of what we thought our 20s were going to be.
For me too, I didn't think I'd be doing YouTube because I didn't even know what YouTube was before my 20s.
When did you start YouTube?
I started when I was 19.
Okay, so right before your 20s.
Yeah, right before my 20s, yeah.
That's perfect because I wanted us to do a little recap of our 20s. What has happened in the last 6 years? Just a little highlight reel of what has happened in your 20s so far.
In my 20s. I mean, I started law school before my 20s. But that happened. I started my swimming school. Okay, yeah. Actually, you know what? My swimming school is definitely something that I saw me still doing. And now it has expanded even beyond. And like, the other swimming instructors who have trained and continue to train. And so how swimming school, I use swimming school money to help pay for my fees along with my dad. So this is something that I started before my 20s, and I was like, okay, I would sustain it in my 20s, and I have, and it's big, and I love it. Law school, I said the swimming school, YouTube, and social media influencing. Like, I don't think I ever foresaw that in a million years, because in my family, you don't get a phone until you are 18 years old. So when I was 18 and I came to uni, was the first time I had now seen like, oh, Instagram, oh, YouTube and TikTok had even come then. Oh, Snapchat and the rest. I also did like love for a bit. Like my first adult relationship was when I was 19 with this Ashesi boy. That didn't last. It was like 4 months, and then the next one. Then that was my last traditional relationship, like exclusivity, monogamy.
Really?
Yeah. Then
I kind of want to go back in time and just like see you back then just a little bit.
It's crazy. Hey, I never wore shorts. I used to be super judgmental. Oh my God. Before my 20s, I never thought I'd be irreligious in a million years. I never thought I would be someone who promotes body positivity or ever show my body in a million years. I never thought I would ever come out as queer. Hey, I said I would die with it. I said, me? No, I belong to the Lord. Never. Nobody would know this. Actually, before my 20s, I said never. Yo, Charlie, they make her they think about these things. I didn't actually even realize that these questions were about that.
Do you know the reason why I'm even glad we're doing this is because Nubuke was always like, you're always looking so forward into what you want to do. You never take time to look back on the things you've done.
Yeah.
And right now, we're not even talking about our lives from when we're 0 to 20. We're talking about just our 20s, and look at how many things you're mentioning.
Yeah. What about you? Tell me, like, some things that come to your mind.
So I would say that 20s, I had just dropped out of college. I think 21 years old was when I dropped out of college, I think. And it was also right when COVID happened. So I was one of those people who was in university during COVID. So I had just moved back to Ghana. And I never thought in my adult life I'd be living in Ghana. I always thought I'll just graduate from university and then live in New York. But I came back to Ghana, was doing YouTube, which honestly, I can see how that would be a career path I'd take, but I also hadn't thought about it being so realistic until it came to my 20s.
Yeah.
I would say that YouTube and social media and just entertainment as a whole has been a big part of my 20s. Like I would even add our influencer trips and going to these different countries with friends and being able to vlog that a highlight of my 20s. And then I also would have never expected to live in Japan, which is where I've been living for the past 2 years, and doing nightlife content, making music. Do you know the funny thing about the music thing? A lot of people are like, I would have never seen you to be someone to do music, or where did that even come from?
Yeah.
Funny story. Music has been something I've always loved to do. So in middle school I did guitar classes just because I wanted to learn how to like play guitar, and I've always liked writing songs. So I've done that since I was a kid all the way.
That's
I think I've never
crazy.
been a diary type person or like a journaling type
Yeah.
person, but I always liked writing
Writing
songs.
songs.
So I
That's
definitely
amazing.
saw that in a dream way in my teenage years. But now that I'm older and it's actually happening, I'm like, wow, am I actually going to be doing this? It's kind of like what I would say has been my 20s recap.
Yeah.
But let's talk about like, how do you think people usually spend their 20s? Like, what is supposed to be like a traditional perception of what your 20s are supposed to consist of?
People for sure in their 20s start transitioning slowly or rather fast into the more serious phases of their lives. For sure, they're having certain reflections, certain deep conversations with themselves, about just like even their finances. People are thinking for the first time about budgeting. People are thinking for the first time about spending restrictions on themselves. People are thinking for the first time about the value for their money. People are for the first time realizing how expensive data is, because they're like really now paying for the data, and they're like, wait, what? 30 like MTN in Africa is insane, guys. You know,
Yeah.
like it takes me off. I think people for the first time start thinking of their parents, and weirdly they start thinking of it very much in their shoes, and thinking of like, ooh, they've invested in me, or thinking of it as like, ooh, how long do my parents have? Like thinking realistically. Some people even start preparing themselves for the possible deaths of their parents and how they're going to navigate that loss. People
Real.
really start also just considering real life things. What if I get pregnant? Am I really going to? People, the whole pro-life, pro-choice conversation starts becoming very real to some people.
We're at the age where people actually keep their babies. Like, that's something I think
We're
about.
the age where our friends just text us and say, I'm getting married. Like virus. Hey, me and virus, me and you they work now. You say you they go get married. Like,
Do you know what's also interesting about 20s?
Tell me.
Until you enter your 20s, we're all on the same playing field. Well, let's say when we're writing IGCSE or BC or WASI, whatever examination you're writing in school, we're all in the same point in life. All of us, our money is zero. All of us who are writing the same exam, maybe some people date, some people don't. But as soon as you enter your 20s, everyone's like where they're at in life is so different.
Yeah.
You go to different universities, you are just in different stages in your life.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting when you come back and reunite. It's like, wow, guys, we're all in very different places.
It's crazy. And then also, let me say, like, I don't know for wherever you guys watching are from, but like in Ghana, right, one crazy thing tends to happen. See, you now start understanding that the people you were in class with, you and them know they're the same level like that. And what I mean by that is, like, you see the strength of people's families, okay, backing the people. Like, see, as you all plead school, like as you guys all finish school, then just they fly. Like people just they fly. See, you just don't even understand. Like, see, you make happy. Like you're happy. You got into tech. You got into Legon and things. You're happy, which is great. You should be happy. Don't get me wrong, okay? Your friend fly already. Go. You pen.
I'm crying. That's
Georgia
true.
Tech. Like,
Charlie.
listen, your friend, like you hear that, oh yeah, your friend's dad used to run this wine company, and so he just gave it to him to just run it.
Wait, but I'm confused. Before your 20s, their parents, are they not doing the same thing? So,
no, because listen, let me explain. At some point, like your parents tried, maybe either even what do you call it, scholarship, or that your parents had some money or got some like money at some point in your life, and so they took you to one of the DB schools or the big schools or like the schools where other super rich kids go to, right? So like me, I went to Corpus Christi, for instance. Okay, now Corpus Christi is like, if you try like if your parents had some money at some point, they can take you to that school. And the people whose parents stay with money, they also take their kids to that school, right? Plus it's a Catholic school, so you would be mingled with people who honestly are not the same level as, or like your family finances are not the same level. When you pay for your school fees, everything is inclusive, so you don't even see that there's anything preferential about maybe their food is extra rich, or everyone just goes for. So it appears to you that you're on the same level as these people. sleep, okay? Please school see. Just finish school and see. As you're
Everyone
buying your
goes.
forms, please, they are like doing their visa application, they're gone. They're gone with the wind. And like in time, you just see that they go into this really fancy, like they go into Bank of America, or they go into JP
Jobs.
Morgan, or they go somewhere and it's like, oof,
You know, I think the biggest difference between you and me there then is that I think in my school, a lot of people, yes, there is financial disparities, but everyone was kind of like in a similar boat. So I
can
went to an
imagine.
international school in Ghana.
Yeah.
So then I would say that if you go to an international school in Ghana, 70% of the people are going to leave Ghana for university after you graduate. So then a lot of my friends that I was friends with in Ghana, we were the same people in America. So like even now, if I
Okay.
go to Boston, I have my exact same group that I had in Ghana. They're all just there
Oh,
now.
I see.
For example, comparing myself now to my friends that graduated college and have traditional 9 to 5 jobs, I'm like, wow, the stability they have and the routine they have
Yeah.
and the financial security they have in their lives
And the travels.
and the travels they have. But
Yeah.
also people in their 9 to 5s, I feel like in early 20s, they don't get to travel that much yet because they don't have a lot of the work perks of like being able to take time off. But I feel like it's very interesting. We're adulting. We're starting to adult. I feel
Yeah.
like that's where we're at
Yeah, for
in
sure.
life. But what do you think are some of the biggest myths and misconceptions, or like how were you misled? Me, I feel misled.
Tell me.
People told me that this part of my life was supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Actually, it's fun, but it's also very, very, very like, it's just a very, very like, hey,
Yeah.
yeah, you know?
Yeah. It's
I've-
too hot.
Yeah, it's too hot. I feel like I'm enjoying my 20s. Like the fun is the most fun I've had in life ever. But then I feel like the values are also the most valuable in life I've ever had.
deep.
But what do you think are some of the biggest myths about your 20s?
I think one for sure is just the traveling and the shaking your ass on a yacht and a thong. Like, please. Where's the money?
But we're manifesting that for
Where's
us.
the money?
We're manifesting that for us.
Amen. But where's the money?
Soon come.
And the thing is, you have to, like, honestly, if you guys really think about how crazy it is that you have to be in a state of mind and work your ass off in order to live and have a roof over your head. As in, if you are like going through something, please, you cannot be like, you'll be broke and you'll be struggling in life. So everybody has to work. And that, I think that realization, because honestly, everyone I told I was quitting my job was just like, how are you going to eat? And that is so real because my genuine money is finished. Real though.
Yeah.
And there's no like security, monthly, this is going to right? And it's just, I think it's so scary and people are really realizing it. I think because where's the partying going to come from? Like, trust me, even if you didn't want to buy drinks and things when you go out to a party, the transportation in Ghana, for instance, is just so expensive.
Okay. So are you saying that one of the biggest myths is the amount of fun that you think you are going to have
Yeah, and the amount
with
of
the
freedom
lack
to
of
have
funds?
that fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
okay.
like no discussion about the budgetary and fiscal constraints. Yeah, it was just like a painting of like fun, like 20s. Oh my god. And the thing is, at first they used to give advice, like the oldies, they would say like, listen, live your life up to the fullest. Bitch, I'm trying. Ain't no money to do that though. Like, I'm trying. I want to shake my ass. I want to like, there's no money though.
I feel like I totally can understand that, especially I think in social media too. You just see so many vlogs of also like, let's say people traveling or doing different things, and then it's like you are all in different places in life, and that might happen for you. It might happen for us maybe in our 30s. It might
Yeah.
happen at this point in life, or it might
Yeah.
happen for different people at different points. So I feel
Yeah.
like don't feel rushed by where you're at in life. Also, just because where you're going is different from where other people are going.
Real.
But another biggest myth I think I had is that you're going to be friends with all your childhood friends. Definitely is a myth. How would you advise your younger self if you were to come into your 20s again? How would you do your early 20s differently? In your 20s, it's very easy to just be going with the flow and going with the motion of the ocean, and you sometimes don't like take a step back to realize that you are not doing what you need to do. Going back to your fun thing, I think yes, because you do get all this extra freedom all of a sudden from when you're in high school, that freedom that you now have, you just have to be aware about how you're going to utilize it.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to use all this free time you have?
Yeah.
Now that no one is telling you what to do in life, you are now making all your decisions, and you are going to deal with all your consequences. And you don't actually actively think that way when you're living day-to-day life, but life will show you. You know what I mean? Like,
no, absolutely.
Even all the times that, let's say, you're in college and you're partying and you're not even thinking about applying to jobs, all of a sudden when you graduate,
that's literally what I was going to talk about after you go on.
all of a sudden when you graduate, the friends you were partying with now have jobs because they were doing something different. I feel like just being aware, like, don't be unaware and just be living life and lose focus.
I agree.
And it's actually interesting because my dad like told me one of the advice he'd give me is to not lose focus. He said that achieving goals is 99% getting rid of the distractions and just focusing, because so many things will come and distract you from where you want to get to, and some of the distractions come as good things. They come disguised as good. So I feel like that's another myth.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say, like, if I had to redo my 20s, for instance, one thing for sure is the internships and the applying myself, better, I think. And just really thinking a little harder about direction and where I wanted to go. And the things that I needed to look into to get to that point. Because if I had looked even a little bit, like if I had found LinkedIn sooner than I did, if I had found all of these newsletters I get from all these different LinkedIn pages and things to direct me to applying for things way earlier, that's something I absolutely, like, those things in particular I've really regretted, in a way. Because those things I'm feeling so much more now in my applications where people have all these like really brilliant things on their CV, and I'm talking corporate world.
And I would say, I don't know if this goes under myths, but a big lesson I would say I also learned, or misconception, myth, is that the problems that you ignore won't disappear. The problems that you ignore in your teenage years, that you ignore till your 20s, are not going to disappear.
Like what?
Everything. I feel like we're very much at the age where people are like, Charlie, you need to go for therapy. I feel like everyone in our age group feels like they need to go for therapy right now. And I think a big part of that is that all the problems that we just thought that were going to go somewhere and we could just ignore, they actually now come and actively impact your life in your 20s. All the things that happen in your childhood, all the things that happen in your teenage years, that's what honestly like kind of steers your life. And you now have to like regain control of how you have been built and fix things and learn new things. So I feel like ignoring it will be fine is the biggest myth.
I think two examples of what I think about when I think of what you just said will probably be reading and my relationship with tech and IT, and just always saying like, oh, let me just leave that for the person who could do it, like instead of just taking time. Because I know if I took time to try to navigate tech problems with my laptop and things, I could probably handle it myself. But sometimes I'm just like, ugh, whatever, and then I never learn. So like, for instance, ChatGPT AI, it took like, it was, I could have got to it faster than I did. Let me just put it that way. I could have got to it faster. And I think you will definitely see those things creeping up to you in your adulthood. And then also reading. Hey, in my GMAT class, like part of it is like reading comprehension. And my teacher, he would not stop stressing about reading. And then also as part of my goals, like, to be reading a lot because I'm going to be writing articles and producing articles and publishing articles and things like that. Reading was something that I always said to myself, like, oh my God, I have some type of ADHD. I can't focus. I can't read a page and move to the other page. I can't read big books, but I'm having to, I'm having to more and more.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you and I, right, where we're at right now, we're at the halfway point of our 20s. And we have another halfway more to go. And me, I'm excited for us because the other half we're spending with them too. We have our little babies watching this podcast that we're going to experience it with. But I feel like one piece of advice I'd want to give other people in their 20s as far as like opportunities is that use youth to your advantage. I feel like when you're young, you have the privilege of being able to be more audacious, being able to not go the traditional way, and like people will still have grace and will still find it cute or adorable because you're still young. I feel like while you're in your 20s, use that opportunity of your youth to go and ask for favors or go and ask for opportunities. You know, don't be scared to go and reach out to people. Don't be scared to go and actively take initiative. I feel like even with YouTube, one thing I don't regret at all that really helped me build with YouTube was just DMing people and not being worried about whether they will reply or not, and you know, just actively taking the initiative for opportunities instead of waiting for the opportunities to come to me. Even with you and like noticing that you wanted to go into finance instead of waiting for application season and just applying, you doing these Coursera courses and you going for those opportunities. Like,
Okay, before I talk about opportunities that have personally come to me in my 20s, I would want to just touch on some general opportunities that I really think, you know, young adults can take advantage of. And I think they shouldn't ignore. And I think they should absolutely leverage on and jump onto it as quickly as they can. One part of it will be AI, right? And just AI tools. But also I can even imagine that this excludes like a section of, I don't know, some people who haven't even had like formal basic education. But honestly, I pray with all my heart that that doesn't stop you, because I think that could even be a bridge for the lack of basic education you've had. If you have access to like a computer or some device that can access the internet, that could access these AI tools. And when I say AI tools, I know it's so, because it's so many. Like for instance, if I'm talking about, if you're a project manager, there's specific AI tools for project management. If you are a lawyer, there's specific AI tools that help legal services. If you're a content creator, there's specific, you know, get into it. Because like, you know, people think that these AI tools are coming to replace human work. But the thing about the one advantage that humans have over these tools is like, well, I don't want to say precision, because AI tools pretty much get that right. But it's kind of like that human factor that really cross-checks everything and makes sure that, oh, the machine is proper, right? Imagine that you integrate your skills with it and you better understand it, so that it kind of complements your skills. It streamlines your work processes and just optimizes your output as much as possible, and just makes you like this shiny, you know, this person that is a problem solver, you know, and does it within record time. So AI is one of the opportunities that I think is coming up, and just even tech in general.
AI, I feel like it's not even just an opportunity. I feel like if you don't do AI, it's going to hold you back in the future, because I think it's also unfortunate, but we're just not going to have control as far as like how far AI is going to go. And it's definitely going to be a big part of the future. We can't kind of control that now, since this whole AI thing has started. And it's going to be people who know how to utilize AI that's probably going to be winning in the workforce in the years to come. Another thing I really even thought about in terms of opportunities, and specific to the Ghanaian youth that I really want them to pay attention to, is freelancers make so much more money than traditional workers in Ghana. Like, even when you spoke to me about how much a lawyer makes in a month, I'm like, oh my gosh, a dance teacher I know makes more money than that. Or an editor I know makes more money than that. Learn a skill that you can do to sell as a service, and that will help you make so much more money being in Ghana than working for a company in Ghana.
Absolutely.
And the good thing about that is that even if you work for a company, after your 9 to 5, you can now use your 5 to 9 to work on these other side hustles that will help you build so much more financial leverage if you're in a developing country like Ghana.
Also, just look into the concept of working as a consultant in whatever field you are in, because like just that term, that title, consultancy, right, in whatever field you are, it gives you so much flexibility to either be able to take on other jobs at the same time, be able to do different things at the same time, and be getting like big money like with that consulting, you know. It's very third party, like, you know, helping they procure your services, and then you jump onto a project, you do something. Just in general, really look out there, because there are very creative ways that technology allows us to be able to make money in the comfort of our homes and on our own the most flexible terms. You know, you're allowed to be in this, like, you can be in Ghana if you love Ghana so much and be working for a company that pays you in a currency that's, you know, hedges against inflation in your country.
Right.
So like a good currency and things like that. And you're doing the work because you're able to work online.
Right.
And because you have a device and you have, these are opportunities that weren't so common years ago.
100%. I
And
would
yeah.
say that if you're a youth in Ghana, the very first focus should be to work, to save money to buy some type of electronic device if you don't have one. Because once you do have an electronic device, it actually gives you a little bit more leverage to be able to match yourself to the financial standards of other countries, because
Yeah.
now when you make money online you can get hired in other countries.
Yeah.
If you go and become a freelancer on Fiverr as an editor, you get paid in dollars. So
Yeah.
I feel like people should really look at those opportunities. But do you know what? I wanted to include this opportunity segment because I don't want it to seem like 20s is all sad.
Yeah.
Okay, because maybe you and I are just going through it, but 20s, there's a
Yeah.
lot of great things, and
Really?
we kind of just spoke about some opportunities that are prevalent to people in their 20s right now, how they can take advantage of it, and how you can spend your 20s in the best way possible. But another thing I want to say about like how you can spend your 20s the best way possible is to network and meet more people, and to not be shy, to put your pride aside. I think a lot of people, when you enter your 20s, right, you lose a little bit of the edge you had when you were a teenager.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
lose the edge you had of not being scared of failing.
Become super self-conscious.
Exactly. By the time you get to 25, you've probably failed a couple times at your dreams or your goals.
Yeah.
It's way too early to start letting that chip on your courage or your confidence
Yeah.
at all. I feel like be totally fine with that. Ignore it. If anything, turn a blind eye to it and just
Yeah.
keep throwing yourself at things still in your
Yeah.
20s is, I feel like, one of the biggest perks of being in this age group.
Absolutely. I think one thing I would also say is just the diversity and opportunity in the like diverse opportunities in content creation and the social media space as a whole. Honestly, social media is here to stay. It turns out, and you can either be a part of it or you won't be a part of it, which is fine as well. But in terms of the opportunities that are on there, not just financial opportunities, but like building relationships, building strategic networks on there, learning from the space and things like that. I think there's a wealth of opportunities on social media. I think it is great to add to the content over there and break the stigma of being a content creator, especially in Ghana, especially for men. I think that if you really look, you'd realize that people do content all the way from like watching them sleep to doing beats and trying DJ skills to F1 races, what they from Formula One races, to reviewing types of cars, to giving lessons on accounting skills. Like, surely there is something you do. Surely there's something you do, and you'd be shocked to know there's a demand or there's somebody that wants to know. You're an editor, you think no one, people want to start content creation and don't know how to use like what you would think is a basic editing tool, like maybe iMovie. And you want to, because I learned through YouTube tutorials how to edit, which got me to become a YouTuber for like 7 years, and there's that fear of being cringe. And I've seen people talk about it more and more that like, I overcame my fear of being cringe and joined social media, because of course your neighbors are going to watch you and they're going to be like, oh my God, now they know what the inside of my room looks like. Now they know, you kind of, it's okay to take that leap and think bigger than that and hope for bigger results and work towards bigger results on social media and in content creation.
100%. I think you mentioned the two biggest opportunities of our generation, which is AI and social media.
Yeah.
So if you're in your 20s, those two are definitely fields that you should take advantage of.
Yeah.
About their past 5 years of their life before they open a restaurant. Take advantage of people's vlogs, people's YouTube videos. If
These
someone
are opportunities.
These
yeah.
are opportunities. If they are where you want to be in life, if you're 20 right now and you see a 25-year-old vlogger living the way you want to live, see what they did.
Yeah.
For example, if I want to do music now, I can look at how, let's say, DDG or like different artists who do YouTube have done it from their vlogs, and then
Yeah.
I can apply the same things.
Yeah.
So take advantage of other people's failures
Yeah.
and successes
Yeah.
and how you can apply it to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think right now, as we're talking about advice to people in their 20s, we're
On the
kind of talking to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like we still have so much of our 20s to go, so a lot of this
course.
advice we're giving us, I'm kind of taking it in myself. I think one of the biggest challenges for me in my 20s is that all the problems that I ignored growing up, all are just landing on me now, and I'm having to relearn and just work on myself to now deal with those problems that I ignored for so long. I think we spoke about having an episode where we have a therapist come and talk to you, and then a therapist talk to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like that would be such a great episode. So
Yeah.
comment down below if that would be of interest to you.
Yeah.
But I'm in a point in my life where a lot of like, I don't know if trauma is like a dramatic word to use, but like, let's say like childhood trauma or like things that have happened in my life and how it's affected me to make me who I am now, and me not being happy with who I am now and having to change those things is where I'm at right now. I feel like I also face the challenge of becoming someone I didn't want to become, in terms of like, when you're a kid, you always see these adults and you're like, I never want to become an adult like that. And we're so quick to judge because we've lived so little life. And then growing up and becoming like those adults that you didn't want to become, even with the things that you didn't like that your parents did, and then you grow up and you become more like your parents. I feel like seeing yourself following in the paths of people that you didn't want to become and catching yourself and having to pivot out from that is so much harder than you thought. Like even like when I was younger and I was like, I hate the fact that my dad drinks or whatever, and I'm like, now I'm that person that drinks all the fucking time. I feel like those are challenges. But what would you say? What are some challenges you've gone through?
Like, honestly, immediately, one real challenge for me has been like just my period, like, and how my period,
like bleeding period.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, so honestly, it's funny, but see, when I was younger, first off,
Amma, you and I were too similar, actually, because we're about to relate so much on this point. Talk about this.
Oh my God, listen. First of all, when I was younger, I never had period pains, please. I used to only have my period like 3 times. Or sometimes 2 times, Marentia, like, and it was, and then I even had this serious irregularity, but I went to the hospital and it wasn't a problem. So I was just happy. I could get my period in January, then I won't get it in April, then I wouldn't get it in August, then I wouldn't get it in December. Type thing, no overflowing, and I was a light, flow or whatever. Oh my gosh, I've never stained myself, nothing, bruh. Now, you see, when I was younger, right, when they would talk about the side effects of it, like when you'd be, the temperament shift, what's it called? Like mood swings.
Yes.
And then like, just you being anxious, and even just me hearing about anxiety, it wasn't that real, bruh. Right now, that thing, like, see, and it's so annoying because, look, if my period will be like for 5 days, right? Or 4 days. 2 weeks before, or let's say a week before, and then a week after. That whole time feels like my period. Like, I either get like abdominal pains, and then it like frustrates me in how I like relate with people sometimes. I'm just like, listen, I'm sweating, I'm feeling uncomfortable, I'm bloated like crazy. Like, I didn't really know what bloating was. I'm just feeling stressed out. Everybody, they vex me. Everyone can get it right now. Like, if you want to fight, we can go right now. I'm not even in your mood. And and on top of that, I'm supposed to be navigating. At the time I was working my 9 to 5, right? Dealing with all sorts of annoying like things and clients, and you have to be professional. You have to be, and it's so crazy because when you think about it, your workmates that are males, they never have that period in every single month where like they could be feeling off, their hormones are going off, my hormones are coming up and down. And many times I'm horny as hell in the workplace. I'm just like, what is going on? I'm hot. Marentia. Oh no, it's so unfair. It's so burdensome.
I think you actually brought up a perfect challenge I would have never thought to. For people in your 20s, particularly women in your 20s, the challenges we face with periods, I think should be spoken about. I was the exact same way like you. I never used to get cramps. I never used to get like mood swings when I was younger. I never used to get any of those things. As soon as I entered my 20s, I started getting cramps. I started getting all the negative side effects of being on your period. And what's even crazier is that they say that your period is supposed to be like, let's say 3 to 7 days, right? Depending on the person. Like you said, it's the week before you have a different hormonal stage. The week after, every week of the month has a different reason for me to be feeling feeling a type of way, and that's just so crazy to me.
It's too much.
And do you know what it is? Now we have to manage our hormones and how we feel because of that. And on top of that, we're broke. And on top of that, we have to not be rude to people.
Real.
Like, life is too fucking lifey.
Oh my gosh, it's too much.
Yeah, but I actually even want to talk on like a more serious note about how important it is for girls in their early 20s to get checked, like as far as their sexual health, at least once.
I'm telling you.
You have to have had a pap smear, STD, STI.
check. Honestly, so let me talk about that, and also just the general thing about being more focused and actually taking the steps you've put down to achieve your actual goals, and how not just periods but other things like procrastination and just bad habits can get in the way of you doing that, and how I navigate these challenges and overcome some of them. Hey, now one thing I really do is like, oh, okay, what, like I'm like, why am I feeling this way? What's the time? Like, what's the days? What's today's days? Is it getting to my... So I know, right? And I have a flow chart, right? You can use the flow app or whatever.
Everyone says use the flow app. So tip number 1 for 20s girls periods,
right?
Get the flow app.
Just so it gives you an idea of really what's going on, because you see, that's so important, because sometimes nothing in your life is making you feel that way necessarily, and it's all this science in your body that's going off, and you need to understand that to give yourself grace, and also know what's going on and be able to give grace to the people around you, because you give both backs to people around you, your partners, your parents and things, and it's not even coming from you. It's just a lot of science that's going on in your body, and it's really annoying. So sometimes I'm even so mad at myself. I'm so emotional. I'm crying a lot, and nothing has happened. And I'm so like, shut the... What are you doing? My friend gets up and go and do it. I just need to understand, oh, it's around this time and this is what's happening. So that's the first stage for me. But even if it's not about my period, like if I had to in a workplace, I would say I'm conscious of, you're here to provide a service. You're here to do a service. What's your theme? Like, what's your energy supposed to be? Like, you have a standard of energy for yourself in these spaces. Are you going by that? Are you complying with that? Is something distracting you from doing that? Are you noticing those things? So I think the very first thing in like early adulthood is just being aware of what you're supposed to do and the things that could prevent you from doing those things, and how to navigate those challenges, which is what I'm getting to. So the first thing is awareness. Second thing is like, okay, so now that you know what it is, how do you actively combat these things? So if it's the period thing, for instance, I'm aware, and honestly, one thing I do is I tell the people, I'm like, okay, listen, I'm a little on edge. You probably see it from, I'm around it's my period time, so I'm just going off. So they can also give me grace. They can also be understanding, and I've given them context that they would not ordinarily have had, because this is science going on inside me, and I'm even getting context of it. So then I share with them so they understand. And then based off of that, now I'm actively, consciously trying to make efforts to do the opposite of what my body is naturally doing, which could be causing a chaos or being chaotic in and of itself. Practically speaking, I identify the problem. I'm aware of the problem. I share with the people around me that I would be working with, that would be confronted with the problem, about the genesis or the origin of the problem, for them to have some understanding and context. And then I work actively to and while they give me that grace, it allows me to be able to do that. So that's very practical and very general, cuts across everything.
No, I totally agree. I would say that my tips that I give is that I don't listen to myself, number one. Like, I don't take my train of thoughts, whatever I'm thinking in that season of my life, as my true opinions. Because for me, what would really happen, like, if I'm in, let's say, the week before my period, right? I would feel, and this was when I was actively doing YouTube, I would always feel like I'm all of a sudden so behind in my life, like my career. Like, all of a sudden, it's like this 1 week, I think I'm not doing anything to progress in my life, and I feel like my life is going to shit, right? The next week, everything is going great. And the reality is nothing has changed. So then I just stay aware of the fact that, like,
feelings are
it's
fleeting
all
sometimes.
Fake. And my reality is based off of my mind, and it's not reality. So I kind of choose to ignore the reality I make in my mind. Number 2, I would say more like logistically, I can plan my calendar around like when I know I'm going to get my period. For example, if I have a shoot that is going to be very, very hard, or if I know that I'm not going to be in the right state of mind, like obviously I would just not book it around when I have my period if I had that choice. I would say those are some tips for that challenge. What are some other challenges in our 20s?
If I had to, I would say spending habits. And I know we don't want to go too much into like financial literacy and all of that, because we will do a dedicated video about that in the future. But
comment down below all financial questions you would want.
Yeah, honestly. And if it's really genuinely something you think would be within the theme of this channel and the things we talk about, and if something that you would benefit from and be interested in us talking about, or it extends to discipline and discipline in all aspects, setting goals. People, a lot of the time, people mock the idea of actually writing goals out, writing tasks out, listing, using lists, using organizational tools at your disposal, whether it's AI tools, whether it's apps and things, or whether it's a book and a pen and you sitting down to write, or create like a small budget, or document stuff that's important for navigation in life and giving yourself some type of direction. People mock that idea because I think when we're younger, we didn't do it so much, and it was like, oh, such an adulty thing. And people are not really real. I think people are entering their 20s but are not really realizing like, oh, I'm in my 20s and like I need to do things. I need to change certain habits. I need to investigate doing things like, oh, I never used to read. I need to start reading. Oh, I never used to plan. I need to start planning. I need to start budgeting. People are just entering. And also, you see, if you just go the route of, oh, school, and after JHS, they pay for you to go to SHS. After SHS, they pay for you to go, and you're just doing your duties as a kid. You don't realize that you really cross over from 18 to 22, most likely, depending on when you go to uni. But, you know, you're spending your 20s, and it still looks to you like you're a kid because you're in a structured institution, or not a structured, but, you know, somewhat of a structured institution. You're not realizing, oh, wait, I'm now an adult in the front seat and I can make decisions. And I can imagine that in a lot of African households, that could be because your parents don't let you feel like you're a proper adult. And so a lot of the time, there's still that confusion in your mind, but I actually really need you guys to wake up. There's so much to be done to stabilize your 30s. There's so much to be done in your 20s for you to stabilize your 30s and 40s. There's so much learning that we need to do in our 20s, like so much learning and so much life experiences, not just in jobs, but in relationships, in networking, in events, in just different stages of your life. There's so much evolving that needs to be done, so much growth and unlearning that needs to be done. I feel like we need to wake up faster, exploring new things and realizing and waking up and realizing, wait, I'm actually in my 20s, I'm in this front seat, I should be intentional about my life.
I feel like a lot of people who get to success, right, they're not necessarily the most talented people, but they have some type of delusion that if they work on their dream, they're going to get it, right? Because you mentioned that if you want to become a scientist and you're not good at math, that was like kind of me and basketball. I wasn't good at basketball, but then basketball was the sport I really wanted to play.
So something like saying that your dream and sticking to it is that you're going to, this is a perfect one, that you're going to be in the WNBA. For instance, right? And like you're going to, if you don't, like you're going to die being the WNBA. And then you even like really gauge that short period that you were into basketball, because you can definitely see the difference of like professional skill and everyone being like, you have to go on to like the Olympics, you have to go on to this, versus yours being kind of like high school good enough.
That's what I'm saying by a lot of people I think who become successful, they're a little bit delulu. Like for me, yeah, sure.
But how delulu?
No, so I think, right, you're only delulu until it becomes trululu. And it's up to you whether or not... It's up to you whether or not. Yeah.
Please explain that
it's only delulu till it becomes trululu. For example, let's say my dad, right? He used to say when he was younger, he wants to have the tallest building in Ghana, right? Sure, maybe that didn't happen realistically to come into fruition, but he has one of the tallest buildings in East Legon in an area in Ghana, right? Which to him is like, he still feels like he hit some type of goal. And to many people, knowing his context when he was saying that, just a boy in Makola selling candy, how many people would say that's Delulu? Until it becomes Trululu. For example, you mentioned a good point. Some people, it's very clear that maybe they're on a path to success, but that's not the path for everyone. Like you said, Shakira, she had all the negative comments, or even with basketball, Steph Curry was a small short player from Davidson, a D3 or D2 college, and it's very unlikely for a player like that to become one of the best players in the NBA, and Steph Curry became that. Me, I've just always been the type of person, I believe in that. I believe that there's just 0% chance that all my goals are not going to come into life, and I get that there's nothing in this life that's 100%, but I genuinely, like, I'm not even capping this, or I'm not even trying to like build my confidence. I just genuinely don't see a situation in the world in which my goals don't happen. And I feel like a lot of successful people, that's how they all think. It's just now whether or not your actions match the things you need to do and whether or not it actually happens, right? So I think only you can answer that question for yourself. Are you still wanting to chase that dream? Do you still feel like that dream is going to come to life? And also, reality will face you even if you don't face it.
It's actually so easy. You just have to stay the course. You see, let me tell you something. It's like you are here and the thing is here. It's just so within your reach, and there is an actual path. In fact, there are a billion paths to it, and you can choose one of many paths, okay? But when you're going towards it, the amount of buzz, your loved ones dying, your period, you're losing your job, you're losing your leg. It could be so big distractions that you think, no, this has to be the end of it. Like losing your leg. You think it's so random. You think losing like your, God forbid, your dad, it's like the end. Your mom, you absolutely cannot go on. You need to understand you are going towards something and the wind is blowing back as hard as it can. And it's all distraction, and it's all the things that don't, like, that would ordinarily make you think, oh my God, this life is hard. Because you really have to like also kind of have a bit of the mindset of whatever is coming to me is good for me and it's within the path. Like, for instance, right? Someone would think that you went off track leaving Georgia Tech as early as you did, and that maybe your lack of interest or whatever was a wind blowing in your direction that took you off. But really, your bigger goal was all that you've mentioned in content creation, music, and that, right? And that setback that looked like a setback before only pushed you further towards the direction in which you wanted to go.
I love that you mentioned that, because I feel like it's encouraging for people to hear that your dreams don't necessarily have to change just because of the setbacks that are occurring, because setbacks do occur
like,
inevitably.
So often.
Yeah.
And they could be so crazy, the magnitude, small, big, very distracting generally.
And I think it's also important to remember that the people you see who are successful now are not successful because they didn't have the setbacks. They had the setbacks and overcame them. And I feel like that's basic sentence about life is 99% about how you respond and 1% about what happens to you. There's a quote like that, right? I've really been trying to put that in my mind for my second half of my 20s, because it's very easy for you when you enter a negative state of mind to be like, why is this happening to me? Why am I so unlucky? Or why is it me, right?
Yeah.
But in reality, everyone in life goes through something. And I'm saying that not to minimize your problems, but I'm saying that to say two people can go through the exact same problems, and one person will find a positive outlook and positively overcome it. Another person will negatively be impacted by it, right? Because I remember Kevin Hart mentioned that like the fact that his dad wasn't in his life, that made him want to be in his kid's life, whereas another person might not have their dad in their life and then might choose to also not be present or might not want to have kids because of that. Everything that happens to you control how you live life, and that is so much easier said than done, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's so much easier said than done, but stay the course.
Stay the course. Let's talk about, to wrap up this episode as well, what do you look forward to most in the second half of your 20s?
I'm so excited that you asked. Guys, seriously, like, be doing things that excite you too when you even just act about, like, honestly, because just imagine that really before I get to 30, I'm actually properly in finance and practicing. And like, I've properly published a lot of articles and, you know, just publications, you know, writings that I'm sharing, and I'm actively in the path that I want to, because right now it seems so bleak. I'll be so honest with you. Like, it seems so tough. Everyone tells you finance is hard, you have no time for yourself, and me, I'm even happily running towards it, and everyone's like, really think about it. You're not going to have any type of time. You're going to make a lot of money, but you're going to not have any type of time to even spend your money and things like that. But I'm just excited to, honestly, because it would be crazy for me, because honestly I never thought that I would get into law, become a lawyer professionally, and then like after 13 months of practice quickly want to get into finance and become a finance practitioner. And I would hope that, because even right now, right, part of my plans, a lot of it, see, because I've quit my job and I'm taking the most radical steps I've ever taken in my life, using my savings to fly myself for network opportunities, for better opportunities, just to see. I'm like funding my dreams actively myself, and it's the scariest, most unsecuring, riskiest place I've been in my life. So I'm very excited to even see, honestly, I'm even excited to see not rewards, like challenges along the way. I'm eager to see how I navigate and bounce back, because I do share a bit of how you feel about feeling like it's almost impossible to not make it, especially with the amount of energy I put in and the amount of energy I'm willing to amp up if I need to get there, or if I get there. And so I'm just excited. Like, honestly, I wish I could just get a little peek into what my 30s, like even 30, by what I've achieved, what it looks like, what I have, what I don't have, the number of publications I've made. That's my, like, yeah. I'm really excited to see the stage at which Marintia would be in her life, when she's with her lover or whatever, when she's like fully like in love with somebody.
Okay, but
and her music.
Yes, the relationship thing, guys, is going to
I
be
think
hella
it will hit
far
you
away.
so
Hella.
nicely. Like, I think it will hit you nicely. Like, you'll not be expecting it. It's not like you were looking for it. It will just hit you, and then it's going to be the easy type, where it's not like, it's not distracting you away from your goals at all. Be very nice love for Marintia.
Let's see. I'm not blocking my blessings, but also I'm not particularly trying to get into a relationship right now at all. But
so what did you mean by the next half of your 20s?
That's 5 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about immediately.
Yeah, so like not next 3 years. Maybe the latter.
That's more than half of your 5 years. My God.
Maybe the latter.
Maybe the latter. Yeah, the latter 3 years.
Yeah, but I mean, you mentioned a bit of it, but the podcast is a big part of what I'm looking forward to for the next half of my 20s. It would be great if we get to a point where we can sell this podcast to a networking streaming service, and we can just act as co-hosts, because right now you're pouring in your money and your time into your dreams of finance, right? I'm doing the same right now for YouTube and social media. So like investing money into the podcast, investing money into my YouTube videos, investing money into music. Music is such a high cost industry because you basically can't make it if you don't put money into it. So
you make money to make money.
You put money to make money. So I feel like that's a big part of what we're looking forward to. Second half of my 20s, I also want to start realizing some of the dreams. Like, I'm kind of tired of like not hitting the goal exactly right on the mark and always being a little bit short. I want to actually like say, I want this to happen and I want that to actually happen, because I feel like I've not had that happen to me in such a long time. I feel like the last times where I was setting goals and then it actually came to pass was, let's say, maybe when I was applying to university, or maybe even when I hit the first 100K. But I want to feel that satisfaction of like actually hitting a goal again. So I want that in my second half of my 20s for sure. I want to also have more room to breathe. Like right now, you and I, we have zero room to breathe, and that affects how we do like our job and where we're at in life. But I'm hoping by like 29 we just have a little bit more room to breathe, and the lack of stability is reduced at least by 5% even so we can imagine where we're going to be a little bit more. I want to have more financial freedom. Like I want to definitely be a millionaire in the next 5 years of my life.
I hear that.
I also want to definitely go on tour in the next 5 years. And when I say tour, I'm using that very loosely. Like even if it's just like a 3 concert tour just in Japan or whatever, I would have at least wanted to travel once for my music. And that's what I'm setting for the next 5 years, because music I want to do throughout my 30s too. So that's just to me like beginning. I would really just, this is just a really non-professional career. It has nothing to do with my career. I want to like really change my look. I want to try new hairstyles. I want to...
Oh my God, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, so even like I want to do a glow up video of like having a wig installed and just finding a different aesthetic and, reinventing myself in my 20s. Because I realized that I'm not the same person I used to be in my teens. And I thought in your teenage years is when you really have your formative years, and that's where you're kind of made and you stay like that forever. But I changed so much in my 20s that I'm now going to continuously reinvent myself to become closer to who I want to be.
Me too.
So I'm super excited for that. And we want you guys to comment down below, what are your goals for this year? What are your goals in your 20s? If you're in your teenage years, like, are you applying to college? Do you have colleges that you want to get into? Like, what are your goals? Where do you think you're going to be in your 20s? And for the people who are older than us watching this, please give us advice. Like, how did you do life? Because right now life be lifing. you know.
Really.
So I think that's
be
how we want
life,
to wrap up this episode. And hopefully, just by us talking about our experiences in our 20s, you guys had a lot of advice, hopefully, you can take from us. And we're super excited to continuously film more videos.
Yeah.
We have therapist videos, we have my dates video.
Yeah, another blind date that we have set up for Marintia.
And we're going to have guests coming on.
Yes. It's at this point that I encourage you guys to comment down below just video ideas, what you want to see, topics that you want us to speak on, situations that are happening in your home country or somewhere in the world that you'd like to hear our opinions on, or ways in which you think we could segment the videos. Like, we're very open to ideas on how to better serve you guys the hot content that we cook.
Yeah.
So please, just advise and share in the comment down below. That would be really nice. Thank you.
100%. And you know what? I am proud of us because we're not doing this with no team. Not we have our production team, they're our team, but we don't have a big corporation backing us. We are literally doing this by ourselves.
Yeah, no sponsors as well.
No sponsors, and we're doing this at a point in our lives where there's so much uncertainty in other parts.
And so much going on as well.
But I'm kind of actually feeling very grateful for the fact that we've even come this far. We're going
honestly.
so much further. But on that note, the day that this podcast goes live, Amma and I go live on Twitch /Marintia Eco every single Sunday from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. I think is what we said. We're doing our first stream this coming Sunday. And then also the time this podcast goes up, our first membership video is going up today. So what that means is that on YouTube, you can join our membership group for $4.99 a month. And we have exclusive episode segments that we don't want out maybe to the general public. So if you guys want to be our diehard fans and go and enter there and talk with us, please join our membership only. And I think that's how we're going to wrap up today's video.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Kindly share the video on your social media platforms, on your stories, and with your friends. And I think this video is a good one to just share with people who are going through personal and professional development and are just also taking are in transitional periods in their life, whether it's career-wise, professionally, personally, and they're having those doubts and fears and just having real adult challenges going forward and actually realizing their dreams. I think this would be a great video to share with them.
100%. So
you should definitely share. If you're a teacher, share with your kids, your students.
100%.
I think it's a great video.
And guys, high key, we need your help. For this podcast to blow up, we post 4 TikTok clips every day, 4 Instagram reels every day. So just share parts of the podcast, repost, send it to one friend.
Oh my God, share your favorite parts of the podcast that you like, and then we'd repost and things like that. That'd be nice.
Yeah. And I guess we'll see you guys next Sunday.
Yeah, for episode 6. Enjoy, guys. Go watch all the videos you haven't watched.
Bye.
Bye, loves.